Gracias. Adiós.
Emisora y su institución.
Experiencias académicas, culturales y personales compartidos por estudiantes internacionales en el TEC de Monterrey. Welcome to the space in which students from all over the world share their exchange experiences with us. Una visión única de quienes llegan a nuestro país y la travesía de los que se van en busca de una experiencia global. Esto es Global Connection con Carolina Alcántara. Iniciamos.
Hola, hola, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos a Global Connection. Yo soy Carolina Alcántara. Soy asesora de programas internacionales aquí en el Tecnológico Monterrey. Y en esta ocasión el programa va a ser en inglés, entonces voy a hacer el switch en este momento. Hello everyone, my name is Carolina Alcántara. I'm an international student advisor and you're hearing Global Connection. In today's episode, we are with Dilara. Tell me, Dilara, if it's pronounced correctly when I'm going to say your last name, okay? Is that Dayanak?
Actually, no. Actually, it's called Dayanch.
Dayanch.
Sí, Dayanch.
Dayanch. Well, welcome to the show. I'm really excited for you to be here. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you're here. And, well, in this radio show, what we talk usually, it's, in this case, we're just going to have an international student. For instance, Dilara, she's from Germany, but she has Turkish descendants, so we're going to also, talk about that. And in today's episode, it's going to be more about a focus in your exchange here at Tec de Monterrey and your background in Germany. Well, how have you been so far?
I've been very great.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, today is the 4th of December, so half a year is already over. I lived here for half a year as an exchange student, and it has been the craziest and the most intense part of my life so far, but also very, very fulfilling and very heartwarming.
It's over right now. Yeah, we can actually say that the semester is finally over.
It's over.
Yeah.
And I'm very sad about that. Like, the last few days have been very emotional, and I've been struggling with those emotions because, the half year, I did not really have negative emotions, and now they're all coming up. Also, it's not just me. All of the other international students, I could tell, everybody was sad. And actually, also what I've discovered is, we kind of try to avoid each other, to not say goodbye. No, it's really, really intense.
Yeah, I bet. But I think when you're having a good time, that's what happens. It's emotions arise, and that means that you were actually, you actually had a connection with each other.
Yeah.
So I think the good thing is that most of you are from Europe in a way, so it's really easy for you to see each other back when you were there. And also, in a way, you will relive the experience. Maybe you're not in Mexico, but you're still going to be able to have that friendship for a lifetime.
Exactly. Actually, also, we among us internationals, of course, I mean, we were, I think, over 200 internationals.
No, 401, yeah.
Wow. So, we were splitted in our friend groups, of course, and then we among each other we already made some agreements and plans when to meet and how to meet.
So that's really nice.
Yes.
Well, for the people that are hearing us right now, and para nuestros oyentes, tenemos a Dilara, que ella viene de Alemania y nos está contando un poco de su experiencia aquí en el TEC de Monterrey y como ya está triste de que ya terminó su intercambio, pero pues más adelante nos va a contar un poco más de cómo fue este intercambio y pues las experiencias que se lleva ahora a su país. Así que quédense aquí, están escuchando Global Connection en Tech Sounds Radio.
Sí.
Crónicas de un intercambio, la experiencia de vivir en México. Chronicles of an Exchange.
Well, we're back with Chronicles of an Exchange, and in this case, we're gonna talk about your experience so far here at Tec de Monterrey.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with what do you study, and from what part of Germany are you from, and in what university do you study?
Yes, so I was born and raised in Frankfurt am Main, it's called, in Germany, and it's like in the center of Germany, approximately. And there I graduated from high school, but then in order to study, I moved to another city, and right now I am studying international business in Cologne since the last 2 years. So right now I'm in my 5th semester, and the whole program is for 6, so I'm already towards the end of my study program. And the exchange year was planned for the 5th semester, which I was lucky and blessed enough to spend here in Mexico. And see.
And why did you decide to come to study abroad in Mexico?
Now the thing is, back in Germany, I was craving a new experience, and I was also just craving like coming out of my comfort zone, because living in Germany, which like it's a luxury to live there and to be born and raised there, because like we have the systems and we have we are in the middle of the European Union, and now having seen life here in Mexico, I can see the privileges we have in Germany, and also just the comfort we have in Germany, and then the luxury problems we complain about. So I think somehow unconsciously I was maybe a bit bored of Germany, and I seeked adventure, and I seeked a new experience, and I seek to have just more knowledge about life, but also just about myself, and to really be like thrown into a cold water, let's say, and just like figure out how to swim. And that's then when I decided that wherever I'm gonna do my exchange year, it's gonna be like far away, a completely new culture. And to be very honest, at first I chose Indonesia, because that's also like on the other side of the world, and it's like it's an island, it's in the middle of the ocean, which is also like the opposite of Germany, right? Because Germany is on mainland in the middle of Europe. And then Mexico was my second choice. Indonesia did not work out. It was Mexico. And I am very glad that it turned out to be Mexico, because here in Mexico, also due to, just the people, the Mexican people, they are so opposite than German people. And here in Mexico, just living here for half a year, like now this is going to be a little bit deep, but it healed like parts of me, or like parts of my heart which were damaged back in Germany, and like now I just feel much more alive and just much more healed, and I have much more trust in life and just in myself as well, and also in other people. So Mexico is a very beautiful country, culture, the people. Yeah,
that's really nice. I think also it's the way that you connect with people that actually, and I think you get confidence because you start like knowing yourself when you know yourself in another situation that's completely out of what you're usually used to.
Definitely.
Right? So I would say that you are a Dilara in Germany and another Dilara in Mexico, and you get to actually experience how you are as a person without the assumptions of the people that are around you.
That's very true.
So in a way, you were able to build your own character starting because of that. I would say that I think when you are in an exchange, you're able to like find yourself in a way, because I think you came with other friends to the exchange?
Actually, no. So from my university, which is called, by the way, TH Cologne, it's a small university in Cologne. In total, we are 4 students coming to Mexico. 3 of them went to the campus in Mexico City. I was the only one choosing Monterrey. So I came here completely on my own, and I was blessed enough to have so many other German students as well from all over Germany, and also then just generally all of the international students and Mexican students who now I can call my friends.
That's so nice. What do you think about Tec de Monterrey as a university?
Where to start? I mean, Tec de Monterrey as a university, it has been my best experience of a university so far. Actually, I do wish that I would have studied here from the beginning until the end of my whole study experience, because back in Germany, I studied 2 semesters of psychology in one university, and then 4 semesters of international business in another university. So before coming here, I already had some experience in studying at the university, but back in Germany, it's a little bit like negative, because it's not fun to be in the university all the time and to study and to really come to the lectures, and also like there, the system in general is very, it's not smartly constructed, I would say, because there you don't have to come to the lectures. Most students don't come. I did not go to lectures, but then also it's harder to learn in a way, and also just to connect with the other students and then the teachers as well. And you don't really have that culture, and you don't have like that whole I am a student experience. Here, we spent every day, nearly the entire day on campus, and it was also enjoyable. Like I and other internationals, other Germans as well, we enjoyed being on campus every day, each day, and that was very weird in the beginning. Really weird. And I was very surprised of myself to really like to have that structure. And I mean, we had to come in order to be able to be allowed to take part in the exam. So we knew like there is that kind of a pressure, but we were able to really find joy in it. Also because the students in general and just the culture in general here at Tech are very warm. And the way the campus is designed is very, very welcoming and very healthy also. I mean, nobody here is really stressed or just has negative emotions. Like, I think it's also a way of the Mexican culture to be at ease and to enjoy life no matter what. So I think that also helped with just coping with an intense university life we also had here. But still, the teachers here as well, the way they teach and just that 5 weeks cycle system, I learned more here in half a year than what I did in Germany.
Wow, that's a lot. I mean, you I think it's the way that it's a like hands-on learning experience, right?
Exactly.
You learn. Maybe you need. I think sometimes what I have heard a lot about German students is that it's big lectures and like a lot of people. So people like as you were saying, you didn't even went to classes because you don't find engaging just being sitting there like for 3 hours and hearing a professor basically reading something that you're gonna be 1 month prior the exam, learning by heart so you can take the exam, right? I think that's the way that in Germany works. But I think here in Mexico, well, more about like the tech system is more like, okay, you need to learn the theory, but you're gonna apply it. So when you're applying it, you're actually learning the theory, and by you might do something and might be wrong, but in that way you're learning also what is that theory. I think it's kind of like that, right?
Exactly, because also here, I think approximately after each lecture, we always had a case study we needed to work on, and also we needed to solve it in a team. Here we had a lot of, I think mostly only teamwork. That was also a new experience because back in Germany, it's mainly individual work, and teamworks are not fun at all because like the German way of being with people is much more different than here in Mexico. But here with the teamwork as well, we had that work environment that we would have also when we would start to work in a corporate job, for example, also just as an entrepreneur. So this experience here felt like a preparation for real life, but also in a like not too serious, but also not too fun way. And also the topics we learned about in class, we immediately needed to use them in the case studies, which you said, and that helped a lot, just understanding what's really important and how do you really apply it.
Yeah, because I think at the end, university is preparing you for work.
Yeah.
So if you already are able to start kind of doing cases that are working cases that are actually happening, you're actually getting skills. So when you're actually working, you already kind of know how to solve certain problems.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
nice. What I really enjoyed here at Tech. I mean, the mentality here at Tech, just from the professors and also just the campus, like the system in general, is very solution oriented. and you can feel that energy everywhere. And
I think there's always like, oh, let's do something. Let's see how to make it happen, right?
Yes, exactly. Like very open-minded and very like willing to make it. How to say, willing to advance. Sí.
Yeah. Bueno, pues estamos con Dilara, que ella es de Alemania y nos está contando un poco de su experiencia aquí en el TEC, comentando que le gusta mucho la manera que estudiamos aquí en el TEC de Monterrey, que es basado en periodos, y en estos periodos ella se ha dado cuenta que ha aprendido más que en toda su carrera en Alemania, ha aprendido más en este semestre de intercambio, y le ha gustado mucho que aquí también la ha preparado mucho a trabajar en equipo. Y pues sigan con nosotros, están en Global Connection en Texas Radio.
A miles de kilómetros, descubriendo un mundo de posibilidades. Thousands of kilometers.
Well, in 1,000 miles away, usually we have a Mexican student that went away to, let's say, and for instance, if we had a Mexican student in this case, he would be, or she would be, having an exchange in Germany and coming back and telling her his experience. But in this case, we couldn't get a student, but we're gonna do like a flip in the sense of what is, like, I know that you're like have a descendant, or you said descendant from Turkey, right?
Yes.
So I would like to address that topic because I think it's really interesting. I think often the people that also come in exchange it's common that people also that have the Turkish descendant come here. For instance, last semester we had an international student called Guni, and he also had this Turkish descendant, and he's from Germany. And I think you tend to be like really nice people. It feels like we're really heartwarming people and tend to get along really well with Mexican. So tell me a little bit about your Turkish background.
So first of all, thank you for saying that about us, like Turkish people, like Turkish German people. This year, actually, before going into my Turkish background, I was surprised that I was the only one on campus this semester. I mean, I had one point where I realized that I am literally the only Turkish person on the entire campus, maybe even the entire city of Monterrey. And that was crazy to me because I am not used to that. I mean, in Germany, there are so many Turkish people. I think Turkish people are the largest group of immigrants there. At least they used to be. If it's not the case still, like anymore. But it's very common in Germany to be with Turkish people. I mean, you have Turkish immigrants everywhere in every city, no matter where or which part in Germany. And so we always had that sense of a community there. And also with the Turkish community, I mean, it's either our parents or our grandparents that came to Turkey. And so people like me or the student from last semester, he as well probably was born and raised in Germany by Turkish parents. So we, from the very beginning, we were raised mostly bilingual, like German and also Turkish. And then I think our parents, they really struggled without maybe even realizing it, because they had the struggle of trying to raise a child with Turkish values and with the Turkish culture. But that child then goes to a German kindergarten, and there as well are students, not students, but children from other cultures. So you have like Polish students, or like now Moroccan students, Russian, like so many different cultures, languages, and just it's so multicultural, which is very good. I mean, I was born and raised in Frankfurt, I think one of the most multicultural cities in Germany you can be in. But I think for a parent trying to really form your own child, that might be a big challenge as well. Also because the educational system is of course German, and it also has like very Western values, which might be in contrast to the Turkish values. And then there's also the part of religion, and then that of course depends on how religious the family is or how traditional the family is. my thanks to God is like very open-minded and very open and very flexible in general. So my siblings and I have 4 siblings. We were raised very open-minded, which helped us a lot to finding our own ways also, and our own understanding of life and of us, of other people. So coming to Mexico was not a big surprise for them. Yes, I mean, I think most other Turkish immigrants, we are already used to other cultures and to other experiences, like seeking other experiences as well. But luckily, as I said, my parents, they are very open-minded, especially with me, because they're already used to me doing things they would not do. But I know from friends who are also Turkish and like Turkish German that, for example, their parents, they are very strict and they don't allow them to even like go out or to even travel on their own or to just travel with their friends. Like they are very, very traditional and close-minded, let's say. And it just really depends on how your relationship with your parents is. My parents, they trust me a lot. Like they really have solid trust because they also know the daughter they raised. They know their work in that way. So I was also very lucky with that. And it also really depends on what your goals are in life, I would say. I mean, I always openly communicated with my parents ever since I was, I think, 15 or 16, that I have big dreams and big goals and I'm going to do them. So if you want to support me, I would love it. But if you don't, I'm still going to do my dreams and I'm still going to go towards my goals. But I would love to have your support. And thankfully, they accepted that and they kept their minds and their hearts open and they support me. And when I told them that I'm going to be in Mexico for half a year, well, in the beginning, they were a bit shocked. But then they said, it's okay. I mean, you do your thing. You know what's best for you, what's good for you, but just be careful because, of course, also like back in Germany, people have the stereotype that Mexico is very dangerous and don't go there. And then there's the cartel, all of that, which is a huge lie, to be honest. Like, I did not experience any of that in here. So that's all I said. And ever since I've been here, they love me and they support me and my friends as well back in Germany. So.
And what do you think is the experience of a different of a German Turkish to a German?
There are huge differences. So a German Turkish person is by nature just more open and just more flexible also with their ways of how to approach people, because the German culture and the Turkish culture, they are very different. Germans are by nature just a little bit more distant, more cold and more direct. They don't really care that much about the relationship or how like the emotional intelligence is not really there. But with Turkish people, they by nature are more collectivistic, let's say, and they care a lot about the relationship and about building trust, maintaining trust, and just being really warm-hearted and to connect from heart to heart, like on a very human level. And therefore, the experience of a German person is much more different than a German Turkish person, because a German Turkish person, for example, I can be more flexible with the interaction with another person depending on where that person comes from. So I can be very easily like very German or also just like very Turkish. But a German person, sometimes also here with other German international students, please don't be offended if you hear this, but I realized that they had some struggles with like Mexicans or also just with me at some point. Like on their way of how to understand things and how to communicate, and because they just have a different way of perception and how to handle conflicts as well. So I think a German person has more difficulties trying to adapt to another culture or to another way of communication. And a German-Turkish person just has already has had that international experience and that multicultural experience. Like he or she already knows how difficult, but also how enriching a multicultural communication can be. Like he or she already have that understanding that communication or just people in general have many dimensions, and they can already switch between those dimensions, you know. But a German person is more like straightforward, and they are just more closed off.
I think, as you were saying, maybe you, with your background, you tend to have more flexibility.
Yeah.
Other than Germans tend to be more like squared. You know, this is how things I know should be, and that's why they're super strict with rules. And I think Mexicans tend to be like, okay, there are rules, but sometimes like you can go a little bit on the side and try to see how to make things work. And it's also in the positive aspect, because sometimes some rules may apply, but it's not like breaking the rules, but trying to find another way to do things. And I think Germans are like, no, but you shouldn't break. Like if it's there, it's meant to be followed. So for example, I think maybe like the sidewalk. Sometimes we do jaywalking here. It's a usual thing in Mexico, but I think sometimes for Germans that's like, why are you walking where there's no like a line that says that you can walk, right? But I think it's interesting. I'm gonna switch now the language a little bit. Para nuestros radioescuchas, estamos con Dilara y nos está comentando pues también su experiencia como alemana turca, que es algo multicultural que ha vivido desde niña, y esto le ha permitido pues también tener esta flexibilidad de pues la manera en la que puede llevarse con otras culturas, ¿no? A diferencia de cuando eres alemán, tiende a ser un poco más cerrada esta perspectiva de cómo las cosas tienen que ser, y al ser ella pues alemana turca, ha tenido esta flexibilidad de poder conocer gente de otras culturas y pues poder de cierta manera ser turca en ciertas ocasiones y alemana en otras ocasiones. Pues recuerden que están escuchando Global Connection. También nos pueden sintonizar en YouTube. Estamos en Tech Sounds Radio y nos pueden encontrar en YouTube. Y pues nos damos a un corte comercial y regresamos en un momento más.
La producción nos pide hacer una pausa. Aprovecha que lo mejor ya viene. En un momento regresamos. XHTEC 94.9 FM, la plataforma radiofónica de comunicación y divulgación del TEC en Monterrey. Tech Sounds Radio, tecnológico de Monterrey. Una revisión histórica y la temática de las canciones interpretadas por los mejores cantantes en el mundo en las últimas 7 décadas. The Crooners, con Daniel Cabrera. Miércoles 5 de la tarde, solo por Tech Sounds Radio 94.9 FM, Monterrey.
El Consejo de Valores de Nuevo León, en compañía de Misión del Nayar, presentan la frase del día. Cuando te decides a disfrutar el proceso, tu felicidad ya no depende del resultado. Vívelo hoy.
¿Quién estará en el puesto número 1 esta semana? Descúbrelo en Top 10 94.9. Las 10 canciones más escuchadas y que están dando la vuelta al mundo. Acompaña a Mariana García a descubrir los éxitos que acaparan la cima en el chart global. Todos los viernes, en punto de las 6 de la tarde. Top 10 94.9. El conteo musical global, solo por Tech Sounds Radio 94.9 FM.
En el segundo piso de la Cuarta Transformación, todas las familias mexicanas que tengan hijas e hijos en preescolar, primaria y secundaria pública recibirán la beca Rita Cetina. En 2025 iniciaremos con las y los alumnos de secundaria e iremos incorporando al resto de los niveles educativos. Regístrate antes del 18 de diciembre en becarritacetina.gov.mx. La educación es un derecho, no un privilegio. Gobierno de todas y todos los mexicanos. Gobierno de México.
Escuchas XHTEC, Tech Sounds Radio 94.9 FM, la emisora de radio del TEC de Monterrey. Qué bien que sigues con nosotros. Ya regresamos. El desafío, la integración cultural, The Challenge.
Well, we're back with the challenge, and in the challenge, is mostly we're gonna discuss the cultural difference that you had, like that really were shocking in your exchange. So when you arrived to Mexico, what was something that was like, oh, this is shocking, this is difficult, but that you were like, okay, it's what I came from, and I'm gonna go overcome it.
So looking back, I mean, when it comes to Mexican people, there wasn't really something that was shocking to me. What was very interesting to me when I came here to Monterrey, to the campus, and then just observing the campus life and also just how the students here behave. Here on campus, there are many couples, and they are very open in showing their love and showing their affection, and they don't feel any shame or like any kind of needing to hide, or maybe it's too much for other people to see. No, like they just live their love. And that was very interesting to observe and also very heartwarming. Many other German students, like they were also, in the beginning we were shocked because in Germany you don't see that.
You were like, get a room, kind of.
Exactly. But it's nice. I mean, sometimes it's a bit too much, especially in the library. Like, they're very comfortable, but overall, it's really, really beautiful.
I think you might feel more awkward, like seeing them, than like them doing like whatever they're doing, right? Like,
See, it's that. But it's nice to see that they are proud of their love, you know, and that they really stand for it. Another thing, well, before I came to Monterrey, I was in Mexico City for 8 days on my own, just traveling and just having my first experience of Mexico. And in Mexico City, there are many, many museums, and I tried to visit as much of them as I could in those days. And there, what was very surprising and shocking for me is that Mexicans are very expressive and very like honest and very raw in showing life. Let's say. So, for example, I was in a museum, I don't know the name, but there were huge paintings, like very, very big paintings, and the colors were very bright and very full, vibrant colors, which is beautiful. But then what they showed was like, for example, a dead, bleeding man, or like naked man, naked woman, but very raw, you know, like very in your face. And just images of people being tortured or like burned, which sounds very dramatic and very drastic, and it also looked like it. But then there were also just other people having a look at it, and then I mean, what I realized or observed, it made me feel more human in a way, like just to see that and to really have that, like allow that image to have its effect on me, because it is a part of life. And it is awkward to come from the vibrant city of Mexico City to go into a museum and then just see that image. And it's also huge. I mean, it's much taller than a person. So it's also like a little bit overwhelming. And then in the end, it's just a picture. So it can't do anything. But the emotions that it released in me, for example, were very like freeing. And that's also what I discovered with Mexican people. They are very free in their expression. I never, like since this day, I never saw a Mexican person being like depressed or overly sad or overly angry. No. But they are just generally very expressive when they are happy, for example. Like the way they talk Spanish is also much more different than Colombians or than like Spaniards, like Spanish people. The way Mexicans talk is very expressionate and very like from their heart, you know, that there's so much more soul to it. Whereas Germans, when we talk very dry and very like boring and monotonous. Yeah.
I think you should be a poet. Like you're like the way you express is really beautiful.
Thank you.
It's really nice, like as a Mexican, like saying that we speak Spanish from the heart. That's so like heartwarming, you know. And maybe I was thinking, maybe you went to Bellas Artes. I don't know if that was the museum.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, from what I remember from when I have been in Mexico City, because my family is from Mexico City. So, yeah, I have been several times to there to visit my family from there. And, Bellas Artes is a beautiful museum. Actually, the architecture from Bellas Artes, it comes from France.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had a dictator that he loved France, Porfirio Diaz, and he brought all of that building here here, but to Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that it's a beautiful place. Actually, that it's sinking because it's so heavy that it's kind of sinking.
No,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, like also the cathedral in Mexico City was sinking because also, Mexico City was a lake. And yeah, and they started what they started doing is like pouring, what to say, not how you say, not sand. I was gonna say dirt.
See,
They started putting dirt in the water, and from that they started like building on top of like a lake. So that's why there are a lot of earthquakes as well. And yeah, Mexico. I would say the story of Mexico City, it's huge and really interesting. And from I think from what you're talking, I think it's from the a time we had muralismo mexicano.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they tend to be really raw. Actually,
Yeah.
here at Campus Monterrey, I don't know if you saw that we have one. Well, we have I think several, but the one that I remember is the one that it's in Centrales. We have a mural that
I saw it.
There was a time that it was actually shut down. Let's say there was a curtain because it was for the politics at the moment. It was too hard to be exposing it. But when you actually see it, it's a nerve-wracking pain to be in a cafeteria.
Yes.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, when you start seeing it's really interesting. I'm not exactly sure who is the one that painted that mural, but it's a really famous muralist here in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say yes, it's I would say nerve-wracking in the sense like I think Mexicans we tend to laugh like about some not laugh but we say that we mock death, for instance, like in Dia de los
Yes.
Muertos, right?
Definitely, yes. And it's also something I really loved about the way you live and the way you perceive life, because you don't hide it away because it's too disturbing or too ugly or too painful to deal with. No, you take it and you look it into the eyes and then you just accept it. Whereas, for example, in Germany, people, they don't really like it, or they don't acknowledge it. Or in Turkey as well. I mean, in Turkey, people try to avoid ugly or like uncomfortable topics, or like the concept of the devil and all that they don't even speak about it because they are too scared of it. But if you don't speak about it, then how will you deal with it, So here in Mexico, I think it's somehow a contrast that they are so raw and that they deal with such intense and like deep topics, but then on the other hand they are very light with how they deal with life. It seems like a contrast, but actually I think one influences the other, because only when you know and when you are aware and also accepting of those aspects of life and those dark truths of life, you are able to also accept and really embrace the light of life. So I think like Mexican people, you are very wholesome and very peaceful just in general.
Really, do you think we're peaceful?
Yeah.
I think we're super loud sometimes, but in a good way. I think when there's a Mexican in any part of the world, they make themselves notice in a way.
Definitely.
Yeah. Were you able to travel around when it was Day of the Dead?
Yes, actually for the Day of the Dead, 3 friends and I. So one German, one he's from the UK, but he himself is half Colombian and half Egyptian. Like he's very multicultural.
Wow.
And then one French girl, and then there's me, half German, half Turkish. Like we as a friend group went to Mexico City for I think 4 days, and there we had the Dia de los Muertos experience, both in Mexico City, like the huge parade, but then also like in a smaller town, I think 2 hours away from Mexico City. It's called San Mixquic. Like it's a very small town.
Uh-huh.
So.
And what
Yeah.
do you thought about it?
I loved it. Like there as well, the way people handled death and just like their loved ones being dead or dying is so beautiful, I think, because they really celebrated. Or also just being in that small, I mean, in Mexico City, we did not really have the true authentic experience, of course. I mean, we only had the parade, and then we also saw the alebrijes. That's all. So we mostly had that beautiful artistic experience of Dia de los Muertos. But in that small town, we really got to have the glimpse into how the families really treat that holiday, let's say, or how they really embrace their loved ones being dead. And they do embrace it because in those days they think of them in a very positive way. And for example, there was a church in that city, in that town, and in front of that church was a huge graveyard. And there were flowers on each grave, and it was really artistically and very aesthetically designed. And I saw that for the first time in my life, because back in Germany, also in Turkey, I've been to graveyards, and they look like very dark and very like scary, and you should not go there. But there we were, and everybody was there, and the graveyards had so many flowers and beautiful orange big flowers.
Very
it was so
flowers.
beautiful, so beautiful. And that again, like, Mexicans are so welcoming, even with dead people, you know.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Coco?
No.
Not yet. No, you should see it. I think you're gonna be after having that experience. You're gonna have a nice look back at your Mexican exchange when you look at that movie, and like especially to the Day of the Dead, because it's really nice. Yeah, and I think actually, from what you were saying, like around death, it's really interesting that in Mexico, the perception that people have that we celebrate death, right?
Yes.
And I think it's nice because that's something that actually it's a way to remember the good times with like that loved one that no longer is physically with us. And in a way, you think that in that day, the loved one comes back and it's with you in that day. So yeah, like I would say definitely see Coco. And an interesting fact that I wanted to share with you is that did you know that actually the parade is like brand new? It didn't exist before the James Bond film.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, that just shows how powerful movies are.
Yeah, exactly. yeah. It was like portrayed, and people like after were like, oh, okay, there are parades in Mexico, and Mexico City's government were like, okay, let's start doing the parade. And I think it has been a great success. I think a year after year, more tourists, there's more tourism towards Mexico City. Because usually I think people would tend to go to Michoacan or Oaxaca, Chiapas, like states where you would feel like it's more of a, as you say, not like a flamboyant type of Day of the Dead as in Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to have like a flamboyant, you go to Mexico City. If you want to have like more of a family-oriented, how people live the Day of the Dead, you go to Oaxaca and in these states. And I think it's nice that you gave yourself also the opportunity to look how in a small town they live that.
Definitely.
Because it's really different.
Definitely. Also, because regarding the parade, it was crazy full. I mean, we were lucky to have a place where we were able to stand and just view it. But still, there were so many people, and Mexico City in general is already very crowded. Like, very... But when I was the first time in the beginning of the semester, like before even coming to Monterrey, I was already overwhelmed just standing in Centro and having that big street and so many people. But then on the day of the parade, it was even more.
Yeah. It's crazy what happens there.
Yes.
Pues nos estaba contando Nilara cuál fue su experiencia, algunos pues cosas complicadas que pueden encontrarse aquí cuando empezó aquí el intercambio. Y pues sin lugar a duda creo que esta experiencia le ha gustado mucho, en especial el Día de los Muertos, o sea, cómo nosotros celebramos la vida. Y pues continuamos. Están escuchando Global Connection en Tech Sounds Radio.
Impacto positivo. Resultados de una experiencia académica. Positive Impact.
Well, finally, in Positive Impact, it's more about a reflection of how the experience have influenced your life, what you're taking back. So after this exchange, what do you feel that you're taking back home?
That's a very hard question. I would say what I will take back is that I take back a very open and a very warm heart. Many beautiful memories and many, many beautiful new friendships I have now, all over the world. I mean, especially with Mexican people, but also just generally with the other internationals. Like we had internationals from Hong Kong, or also from Australia, from like in Europe, many parts from there. So I think those connections are really the most valuable thing you could ever have in an international experience. Like it's always about the people. Always, actually, I talked with a friend 2 days ago about this, like about our experience here in Mexico, and we concluded that it's always about the people. Like it's not even that important, like where you are or what you are doing, but it's the people you meet and the connections you have and the memories you share together, which are also really have an impact on you, and which you carry with you no matter where you are. Because like in the end of the day, we are all connected, like energetically, let's say, or spiritually. So
Yeah, everything happens for a reason, I would say.
exactly. And other than that, I would say I also take back a lot of I think now I am like quarterly Mexican. Because I mean, I did learn Spanish here. I know Spanish now. Like
Oh, really?
somehow see, like I understand more than I am able to talk. But like once I am back in Germany, I will definitely stay on it and like really improve it so that when I come back, I'm gonna talk fluently just in Spanish. But also just the way of life and how I experience life and how I view certain situations. I think now I have a much more like Mexican view on life than before, because before I was even more German than Turkish, I would say. But because I was born and raised in a German society and German educational system. But like here I experienced the Mexican view on life, and I like that much more than the German one. It's much healthier and much more loving and much more wholesome. So I'm gonna treasure that when I'm back in Germany.
What would you say is the Mexican way of viewing life?
Very grateful, very humble, and also just fun. I mean, Mexicans, they don't take anything too seriously. And when there's a problem, they don't complain about it. They just laugh at it and then they solve it. Because back in Germany, people are very prone to complaining, and they are very prone on acknowledging that there's a problem, because we know there's a problem, let's just solve it. But they would rather stay and really delve and focus on the problem rather than solving it. But here Mexicans are they laugh at it. They don't take it seriously. But then there comes a time when they do take it seriously, and then they just solve it. And they are very creative in how to solve things. And they're also very open in their minds. And then they are also very competent. I mean, Mexicans are hardworking people. I think in the course we also had a statistic that in Mexico people are the most hardworking. Like here, people work more in general on average than, for example, in Germany. The problem is the system here in society, which is why people earn less than in Germany. So there, Mexico definitely needs more improvement. But in general, Mexican people, like students, young people, especially, like they are very open-minded, open-hearted, hardworking, ambitious. I have so much respect now for Mexican students. They are so ambitious. I mean, I met Mexican students who got a scholarship, like who come from poor circumstances, and they work their way up in high school. Then they got a scholarship, and then they come here, and even here they take, like, they are very grateful to be able to study here at Tech, and they work a lot, and they also have a job while studying, which is even harder because in general here the students, they don't really work. They only study because they come from a privileged household, which is also fine. But then there's that student who works and who studies and who has good grades, and then he has parents or also just siblings in his hometown who are struggling right now and who count on him having a good career here at Tech. And then he starts to work, and then he still has a dream of going to Germany and starting a life there to have a better future. I have so much respect, like, just for any Mexican student having that path and having that road, because it is hard here in Mexico. Much harder than in Germany. I mean, in Germany we are so privileged just being born and raised there. I mean, just even that. I don't know how we came to that topic now.
No, it was about the Mexican way.
So Mexicans, like, the way they view life is that they are very grateful for life and for every opportunity they get, and they take every opportunity they get, and they make the best out of it.
That's really nice. I think, as I told you, you should be a poet because the words like that come out of they generally come out of your heart, I would say. As you would say, like in Mexico, we speak Spanish from the heart. I think also you're speaking from the heart. So it's really nice. And I think from the people that are hearing us, like knowing that the Mexican way is something that maybe Mexicans sometimes don't think is the Mexican way that we see us portraying outside. But what you're telling us, like how Mexicans are seeing, like you see Mexicans from an outside perspective, it's really beautiful. And what reasons would you give, or how would you encourage another student from Mexico or from another part of the world to do an exchange at Tec de Monterrey, or even students from Tech to do an exchange to, for example, Germany or another part of the world?
I would say, I mean, I would recommend Mexico and just Tec de Monterrey like 100%, because here, like, just in Mexico generally, you get really challenged in your worldview and in how to and interact with people. Because here I also experienced that you don't have to know the language to connect with a person. I mean, I connected with so many Mexican people who don't know English, and I don't know Spanish that good yet, but we connected and we communicated just by a smile, or just like by having a good intention, which was crazy to me, like when I compare my mindset from before coming here. So just traveling in general, I think, really opens you up as a human being and also just as a soul, and you really get to see life for how it truly is. And here at Tech, I mean, at Tech also the professors here, they all come from experience, and most of them, they are not just a teacher, but they also still work. And they also work internationally. So just being blessed, basically, to be able to communicate with them and to be taught by them, in even if it's just a 5-week cycle, still it's a very huge blessing to be able to learn from them, and then also to have that connection with them. So also the campus is very like future oriented. We have VR and augmented reality technology in here, and we also even have like 3D printers. We don't have that in Germany, like not in German universities. No. Also just the way the courses are designed, and like the platform, and that we have an app and a student ID card to get in. Like it's so future oriented. I really, really enjoyed that here.
I'm really glad that you have enjoyed your experience here. But now it's time to go to the closing part of, unfortunately, I don't want it to end, but we need to go to the closing now. Well, as I was saying, it's time to say goodbye for now. But if you had to say a word that sums up all of your exchange here at Tec de Monterrey or in Mexico, what word would you use?
That's hard.
I know it's hard, but it's like right on spot. Like, what's the first word that comes into your mind? I know you can do it.
It's like I have two words, like one objective and then one just my subjective perceptions.
yeah.
Like so subjectively, like me, I would just say blessed, and then objective would be beautiful, like beautiful, because it's always about the people, and the people here are very beautiful. The city of Monterrey is not that beautiful.
No, you don't like
No.
it? Why?
It's very industrial.
Oh, yeah.
So industrial. Like Mexico City it has more culture.
Yeah, but when it comes, I would say Monterrey, the beauty of Monterrey isn't, maybe it's not the city as in Mexico City, but it's more about the nature, the mountains.
The mountains, yes. Most definitely, yes. Like
Yeah.
the mountains.
Connecting with nature here is like less than 50 minutes away from you, I would say.
Exactly. Yeah, so beautiful. Like
Beautiful.
it's a very beautiful experience here. And very like honest experience as well.
Well, I'm glad. And you like your exchange here. Thank you so much for being here, Dilara.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, really. Muchas gracias a todos los que nos están escuchando. Recuerden que están escuchando Global Connection. Y pues nos vemos en la siguiente emisión de Global Connection. Estamos con Dilara. Once again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Y pues nos vemos en la próxima emisión de Global Connection. Recuerden que están